Good afternoon. Let's go ahead and get started. I love this time of year. I don't know about you all, but now that Thanksgiving is over, we're looking forward to the holidays. Everyone's got their lights up. I know I even brought my little like snowman mug kind of globe thing for my hot water. Some of the people at work call me an old lady because I've got like water with lemon and a little cinnamon. I heat it up, hot water. But I think it's so tasty. It's a great time of year. But as you know, the new year is right around the corner, and I think it's a great topic today to be able to hit the New Year's goals before January. Sometimes what ends up happening is I do this talk in January, and I've realized that everyone kind of starts setting their New Year's goals in December so that when January 1st hits, they're hitting the ground running. So I thought, well, why not have this talk in December so that everyone is kind of ready to go? They know how to navigate the pitfalls of kind of the fad diet craze, and then we'll give you some practical tips. So welcome. My name is Cara Miller. I am your campus dietitian. I do cover the state of Tennessee, and so we have multiple people able to access this call. For anyone not able to join live, this session is being recorded, and we will post it to YouTube following this session. You can click the link in the chat to access the YouTube channel, or you can just go to YouTube and type in Dietitian Cara Miller. It's right there at the bottom of the screen. You can type it in and my thing will pop up, and there'll be a whole separate section for lunch with the dietitian. The other thing to remember is if your campus or your university provides wellness benefits or insurance incentives, please check with your wellness director or your HR representative to make sure you get credit for this class. And then before we get started, I would like some feedback following the session. Talk with your peers, talk with other people, send me an email or give me a call, and let's chat through the best way to approach these lunch and learns. The attendance has started to dwindle a little bit, and so I do realize everyone's schedules are busy. Sometimes lunch isn't a good time. Sometimes people now are into finals this week at some of my schools. Some don't start for a couple of weeks. So everyone's on a little bit of a different schedule. So one idea I had was to just record these sessions instead of having a particular day and time. And then at the first Wednesday of each month, starting then or anytime after, you would be able to access those recordings. So maybe it is on your own lunch break, maybe it is on a drive into work, you listen to it instead, however you best want to get the information. The other thing is, what information do you want to learn about? There are lots of things we can do. We can do seasonal things like the benefits of citrus. We could do, heart healthy options for February is Heart Health Month. I've already thought about the February topic being intuitive and mindful eating. It's kind of a hot topic right now. A lot of people have questions about it. They're not really sure how it works or if it's even something they should try. We'll talk about that a little bit today, but I thought maybe for February I would go more in depth on that. But if there are other topics you would like me to cover, please reach out. I love talking about things that you want to learn about. So this does not need to be my agenda. I want to make sure it's something that will benefit you. So on that note, let's go ahead and get started. So today we're going to talk about diet culture. This is a pretty familiar term for a lot of people, but I think it's becoming more and more common, but maybe it's the world I live in, especially in university. We have a lot of college students in the heat of diet culture, but it affects adults as well. With a lot more people on social media, a lot more people on electronic media. Now we may not be sitting in front of a television and eating. We might be in front of our phone or in front of a computer, even like today, doing other things, and culture and media and marketing influence all of that. So even when we're just sitting down for a meal, we might be being influenced by some of the marketing that we're seeing. So we'll talk about diet culture and kind of how that plays into some of this. And then I want to talk through a few of the fad diets and what those pitfalls are. What I mean by pitfalls are like, why do people fall off the bandwagon? Why may it not be a great option long term? And so we can kind of talk through a few of those so you can kind of see a dietitian's perspective on some of these kind of, I would consider them fad diets, because who knows, 10 years from now, there might be something else. I'm sure there will be. And then I want to get us back to basics. So like I mentioned, we're going to cover some of the intuitive eating topics. We'll spend quite a bit of time on just kind of one slide going over some of the key points. And when we get to that section, what I want you to do is think ahead and think, oh my gosh, that one really resonates with me. I think that that will be something I really want to try come the new year. And these are not going to be earth-shattering things that you're going to need to like put all your heart and soul into, and it's going to work for 2 weeks and then you're going to fall off the bandwagon, right? That's what we're trying to avoid with this. So what I would like to do is come up with some practical implementation so that every week or every 2 weeks you could add another goal. So it's a progressive goal instead of just a one and done goal. I think then you'll see better results. You'll feel success, which what keeps us going a lot of the times. And as you continue on it, you'll be more confident with yourself, start to trust yourself more, and you can continue to implement some of these changes to make you more comfortable in your body and make you feel more energy, and make sure that you're not letting diet culture run your food choices, but you actually have a say in it as well. So what is diet culture anyway? One group said it's a rigid set of expectations about valuing thinness or attractiveness over physical health and emotional well-being. This gets a little bit complicated lately because even some of these diet culture fad diets are promoting, we're not in it just for the weight anymore. We're really about wellness. Weight Watchers was one that recently rebranded to WW to try to do more like wellness focus, which I think has really good intentions. I honestly believe that. Another one that's out there is Noom. That's another kind of dieting trend or app and resources, which I'm really thankful includes some things like mental health. It includes moving your body. It includes making gentle kind of nutrition choices. But even there, it can tend to feel like rules. It can tend to feel overly involved. And a lot of times we view our success, even if the program isn't set up that way, we view our success on something, a plan, a nutrition, a diet, as, am I losing weight? Or am I, changing my physique in a way that I appreciate? And we're not always thinking about the big picture. We're not always thinking about our health and well-being. We're not always thinking about our emotional health. Sometimes our weight may be going down, but we're more stressed or we're more anxious, or sometimes because we have control over the food, we're actually less anxious, but it's just that we've shifted. One of my counseling friends deemed it as papa mole, right? So like you're super stressed and anxious, you bop it down by creating all these food rules. Then you fall off the plan. So then you overexercise, pop a mole. You're not taking care of the underlying issue. You're just kind of popping the moles down, and they may pop up in other ways that you're not familiar with. So just keep that in mind as we're thinking about diet culture. The other one is it demonizes certain ways of eating while elevating others, which means that you're reinforcing the hypervigilant about your eating, ashamed of certain food choices, distracted from your pleasures and purposes. So this is from one of my favorite dietitians, Christy Harrison. She writes a book called Anti-Diet. It's really interesting read. But basically this like yes, no culture. So even when I was doing some preparation for this session, I was looking into things like Whole30, Paleo, we'll look into it. Almost all of them, though, have this grid, right? If they have a grid and it says yes foods and no foods, good food and bad food, okay foods and cheat foods, right? All of those are really encouraging us in this diet culture mentality where certain foods are valued higher than others. And what that can do then is that if we eat the foods that are not on the good list or the approved list, we feel like we're cheating. We feel ashamed. We feel guilty. We feel like we've failed. And so some of that really does play a role with mental health again as well, and being able to stick to things. So what does practical nutrition even look like, right? We get so tied into this diet culture that we get really confused about what we should be focusing on. I did a few quick searches on diet culture. One of them was on Netflix. I just put in healthy food, or health food, I guess is what it says. And look at all that came up, all these documentaries. And I always remind people, our students, adults, etc., health food, some of these Netflix documentaries. Remember, a documentary is a persuasion. It's a one side of something. Most of the time there's an agenda. Most of the time there's something that the producers are trying to get out of it. So even though there may be some truth, it often is twisted or misconstrued and may not be 100% accurately represented. So please go into these with an open mind, realizing the other side, realizing that they might be skewed to begin with. A few other diet culture lies you might have heard that are not true is that sugar is addictive. That is not true. We find that the people that eat more sugars often have felt deprived in the past. Maybe that speaks to you. Maybe you feel like sugar has been off limits or it's a bad food. So when you get to have it, you overindulge and you feel like you're out of control. You feel like you can't stop yourself. But that ends up being a little bit more of a mental game than an actual addiction. If you weigh less, you'll be healthier. That also is not true. I've even taken to re-looking at the research of different research studies. A lot of them have produced information about like if you lose 5 to 10 pounds, your health benefits increase. You don't have to lose 100 pounds, but losing 5 to 10 pounds or even 10% of your body weight will have these positive effects. But if you look really carefully at the research, some of what's being said is actually that the people who have these health benefits are moving more. They're eating more fruits and vegetables. They might be drinking more water. They might have a more, routine food plan. And so is it the weight loss that caused the health benefit? Or is it some of the habits that they've introduced that they've been able to implement for a longer period that are creating these health benefits? I'm inclined to think that it is the changes that they're making and not the specific weight or the scale number that's creating that health benefit. If you eat what you want, you will only want to eat treat foods. This is a prime example of Thanksgiving. For Thanksgiving, we had so much food. We had so many amazing things. But let me tell you, after Thanksgiving was over, for the next day for lunch, now was this a well-rounded meal? No, it wasn't. But you know what? I was craving fruits and vegetables. That might seem really strange, but like I had had all this turkey and stuffing and mashed potatoes and carrots and pie and all the yummy things. And what happened the next day is I was like, oh my gosh, that orange looks delicious. Oh wow, we have some pears left from the salad. I'm gonna have the pear. Oh my goodness, that apple looks great. Wow, carrots are so crunchy and juicy. I like ate so many fruits and vegetables that day. I think that if we actually listen to our bodies and we let our body tell us what's going on, we will eat a variety of foods. That's actually what our body craves. Not the same thing every single day, something that's predictable, something that feels safe, but actually items that our body is wanting. The more you exercise, the healthier you'll be. This is also not always true. Exercising is good, but I really prefer moving in a way that feels good to your body. So how many minutes of exercise should you get? Well, if you're not exercising at all right now, or you're not moving your body at all right now, just start moving, start doing something good. And then you can start to add on to that as it makes it a routine. If your treadmill is in front of a drywall in the garage or, in the basement, you have to climb down a bunch of wooden creaky stairs to get there, you're probably not going to be very inclined to want to do that. So don't make that your goal. Maybe you like to do a morning yoga to get you started. Maybe you like to do a stretch before bedtime. Maybe you like to go for a walk with friends and you can walk the nature preserve and it feels good to be in community. Maybe you love to do like a Zumba or a dance class or a weight training class with your friends because you get to laugh, you get to see people, and it makes you feel good. So what are some things that you enjoy doing that is moving your body, and try to do those more? If you eat less, you will lose weight. This is also not always true. I did almost 5 years in weight management prior to my last couple of jobs. And so in that role, we did surgical and non-surgical weight loss. We would get people down to 800 calories a day. It was medically supervised, a lot of ketogenic, etc. But we didn't follow people for a super long time. Frequently, people would gain weight back, even with the weight loss surgeries. After 3 years or so, we either would stop seeing people or some of the weight would start to come back. So there is really no quick fix unless food in does not equal less weight. Your body kind of goes into a mode of like, oh man, we haven't eaten in a while, we better keep this. And so then your metabolism is altered as well. So it's very complicated. So how do we spot a fad diet? If it eliminates a major food group, dairy, gluten, fruit, vegetable, proteins, fats, if it eliminates something, we're missing something. Our body was meant to eat a variety of things, of course, unless you have a diagnosed food allergy or something that is different. But for most of us, we are supposed to eat a variety of foods. A fad diet often has good or bad foods, yes or no foods. Again, there is no moral value to food, so we shouldn't be calling it good or bad. Focus on physical appearance. So, if you do this, you'll cut your waistline. If you do this, you'll fit in the dress, etc. If something is not sustainable. So think about it. A lot of times they say, do this for 30 days, do this for 3 months. Like that feels doable, right? But if it's not something that you can sustain long term, hey, could I be doing this a year from now? Could I do this 10 years from now? If you're like, oh man, no way, then you have to figure out how to incorporate those foods that you do want, that you do enjoy, that keep a well-rounded lifestyle, because otherwise you haven't figured it out. You haven't figured out how to listen to your body. Fad diets often include quick fixes. Sounds too good to be true. It probably is, right? That's one we hear very frequently. A fad diet sometimes takes the science, it's based off of one study or one result, and they make a general conclusion. So kind of keeping that in mind. If it has science behind it, if it has a celebrity or someone behind it, what are they saying? What are they referencing as evidence? Is it been 5 people lost weight? Has it been 500 people felt better and had more energy and reduced their heart disease risk? We kind of got to look at like the big picture. And again, taking a closer look at studies and is it actually the weight loss or is it some of these other things? And if you have questions about that, reach out. I'm happy to walk you through that. I can look at the studies for you. I realize not everyone is a science nerd person like me, so I'm happy to look through that information for you and get back to you on that. Advertise with testimonials or hot topic phrases. So one of them I'm seeing lately even is like keto intermittent fasting. I'm like, what is this? Or keto intuitive eating, or Whole30. I don't know. They mix them all together, and you're kind of going like, if you're doing intuitive eating, it probably can't be ketogenic because you would be including more variety of your foods. So just kind of beware of some of those things just because they use a hot phrase like intuitive eating, mindful practices. Is there elimination with it? Is there other things to it that might be making it a fad diet? So let's look at a few examples. Paleo and Whole30. They're similar enough that I lumped them together. I know they're not the same, so someone out there is probably going to critique they're not the same. I know they're not the same, but they're close enough that I kind of lumped them together. Typically higher fat, higher saturated fat, moderate protein, low carb. Vegetables are encouraged, but minimal fruits and seeds. So I put that on the next line there too. No grains, no legumes, no dairy, no added sugars, no alcohol, no vegetable oil. So when we said how to spot a fad diet, elimination foods, I would say that is one. Everything has to be homemade. Again, is this sustainable? Is this practical? I can't make everything homemade and I'm a dietitian. So if you have the time for that, that's amazing. But again, can you do this every day forever? Not sure. Movement is good. That's a positive. And it says to like eat when you're hungry, pay attention. If you're skipping meals, that's okay. Just pay attention to your hunger cues. That can be helpful, but we kind of want to use that kind of gentle nutrition approach again. So skipping for a long period of time actually can mess up your hunger cues, and then you may not be attuned to them as well. So what are some of the pitfalls? It eliminates major food groups, demonizes some foods while elevating others, right? It's saying like protein good, vegetables good, no good, grain, no legumes, no dairy. So it's kind of creating that good bad mentality. It contributes to food rules and it may not be sustainable. The ketogenic diet, this is a popular one. It does eliminate carbohydrates and claims for quick weight loss, which are frequently true. Carbohydrates go together with water. That's how it's stored in our muscle. So by eliminating carbohydrates, you will use up the stores in your muscle, which can create some water loss as well. That's why usually in the first couple of weeks, you can drop some quick weight, but it's water weight. As soon as you have some carbohydrates, the water comes with it. Your muscles are rehydrated, which is how they want to be. And that some of that weight does come back. So it's not a quick fix, usually too good to be true, often not sustainable because if you have a birthday, if you want to go out with friends and have a couple of chips with your salsa, you can't. And so this really is an elimination diet. It's not sustainable lifelong. There can also be health consequences. This was one that we screened for in the clinic, making sure that people, had healthy kidney and liver so that they could stay healthy in sustaining these ketones. And it can change your metabolism because typically it's followed by a very low calorie as well. What about clean eating? What about this like wellness stuff? Eliminates canola oil, usually looking for organic or natural foods. Sometimes can be eliminating gluten or dairy. Again, it kind of demonizes some foods while elevating others and continues this good bad mentality. I realize a lot of people are doing it for good reasons. They want to make some of the health benefits. Sometimes, though, it feels comfortable to follow rules. We as a society like to follow rules. We like to know we're on track. So this can be more food rules. Choosing the right foods will not prevent all illnesses. So again, if you're doing it for health reasons, a lot of times genetic plays a role too. And it is good to eat foods that are going to fuel our bodies well. But if it creates an over obsession with foods, or like, I'm not going to go out for ice cream with my friends because, it's on the no food list. It's not natural. It's not organic. It has dairy in it. I can't have it. Or maybe it's, you're not going to go to a holiday party because there's foods there you can't eat and you don't just want to pick around, so you end up isolating yourself. Those are pitfalls of some of that. And it can also decrease your food variety. Sometimes we find those safe foods and we just only eat those. So again, really good intentioned probably to try to eat foods that are not as processed, to try to eat foods that are more considered natural, which is an ambiguous term. But again, if it's not sustainable, if it's not something that is going to help you, it could create an over obsession. It could create less variety in your diet. So just be mindful of that, I would say. What about the gluten-free, dairy-free? Again, these are eliminating things. Gluten is actually a protein that feeds our little bacteria in our belly, and they eat it all and they're like, this is so yummy, and then they fart, and that creates gas. So when people say that they eliminated gluten and they felt less bloated, they probably do, because your bacteria aren't farting as much. I know that sounds strange. Some people do actually have gluten intolerances. They have actual allergies, wheat allergies that are anaphylactic. Some people have celiac disease, which is an immune response to gluten. And so, of course, anyone with a diagnosis, please don't mess with this. I'm not speaking to those. I'm speaking to people that, I think I'll lose some weight if I cut out gluten, or, oh, my friend felt better and less tired when she didn't have gluten, so I think I'll do the same. It is worth checking with your doctor to see if it's something you should be avoiding, but a lot of times you will feel less bloated when you eliminate it, and you'll feel a little bloated when you get it back. If it is for weight loss, you don't always see weight loss. Substitutions usually aren't better. They make gluten-free cake, they make gluten-free cookies, etc. And sometimes by eliminating these grains, you can eliminate some of the whole grains and fiber unintentionally, and that can decrease some of your vitamins and minerals and nutrients, and again, the fiber grams as well, which can affect your digestion. So not necessarily good to just eliminate it altogether. Dairy-free, some people are like, should I go dairy-free? I don't know. Eliminating milk ingredients can make people less bloated, but sometimes that's due to a lactose intolerance, so keep that in mind. There is very limited research that dairy causes inflammation. There's actually some research that even says dairy helps decrease inflammation, so I would be very hesitant about that one if you're trying to reduce inflammation by cutting out dairy. It can also decrease your calcium and vitamin D levels. So if you are going to eliminate dairy, make sure you're using a soy product that still has the protein in it and the calcium and vitamin D, and making sure that you just have some good substitutes. I'm curious to know the reason that you're eliminating dairy. I'm happy to talk about any of these, by the way. If you want to schedule a separate conversation, we can definitely talk through them. Okay, so diet culture can have some social impacts. It can be isolating. The restriction pendulum. We've all had this, like, I'm going to be good today, I'm not going to do that. And then you're like, forget it. And you end up binging kind of, or having too much. And then you're like, tomorrow I'm going to be good. Ding, 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 ding. Dang it, I fell off the bandwagon again. And so it creates this ping pong thing, like bing, 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 restriction pendulum. Food rules and food fears, of course. If you become overly obsessed about things, that can be really, really hard. The other thing is guilt. I think so many people get a week or two into these fad diets and they fall off the bandwagon, and then they blame themselves. I wish I would have had more willpower. I wish I could have done it. It has nothing to do with willpower. Our genetic makeup is preventing us from wanting to do it. You enter a starvation mode and elimination mode, and your body goes into hey, we got to store what we've got because apparently she's not going to be eating for a while, or he isn't going to be eating for a while. So your body kind of reacts against you, but it can create a lot of negative feelings as well. So these are all things to kind of identify with diet culture. So what do we do anyway? We have to get back to basics. Get back to the beginning. Anti-diet, all foods included, that's where I'm at. I told you I did weight management for many years. Now I'm the opposite. I think if we let our bodies talk to us and we trust our bodies that we can have all foods and we don't have to overindulge, underindulge, swing the pendulum, be isolated, feel full of guilt. All foods can be included as part of a healthy diet. Just because you eat apples every single day doesn't mean you're a healthy person. If you eat a hamburger, it doesn't make you an unhealthy person. It doesn't also make you a good or bad person. Foods don't have moral value. So food does not define you. And make sure that you have some support. I think it is really hard. People are so quick to judge. They're so quick to comment. The holidays are here. Someone's going to say something. I know I was just talking with someone the other day and they're like, oh, do you really have to have those extra scoop of mashed potatoes? Or looks like you've been eating pretty good. Like, just make these sly comments that are just none of their business. And so having some ways to like combat that. Are you going to step outside? Are you going to go to one of your support people? Most people have someone in their family who is on their side. So stick by them. And use notice language instead of saying, geez, you really aren't eating, or, oh, you're being so good by just having salad and chicken. It's not always good. Maybe there's something else going on there. So, hey, I've noticed that you really haven't been having many carbs. Like, can you tell me about that? Or, hey, I've noticed like you're not eating with us very many times anymore. Is there a reason for that? And then we already talked about this, but move in a way that feels good. I think this is an excellent goal for the new year. Move in a way that feels good. What is it? Is it going to be adding yoga? Is it going to be adding stretching before bed? Is it going to be adding a kickboxing class because you just got to let it out? And not making it about like, oh, if I go 30 minutes on the treadmill, then I can have a Snicker bar. Like, it's not about that. Don't make all those rules. Go with something that makes you feel really good. So we got to form this solid base, make sure we're taking care of stress management and sleeping well, but we have to make sure we're eating well. So yes, 3 meals, a snack, use whole foods, use hydration. That's really, really important. We want to move our bodies before we consider supplements or powders or any of these other options. So here's this intuitive eating slide that I mentioned. I know this session is going a little bit long, I apologize. But I think this is the meat of it. This is where one of the spots we want to hang for a second. Intuitive eating basics. Reject the diet mentality. Is there a way for you to let go of that? LaCroix water now says innocent on it. What the heck? Like, it's just water. What makes it innocent, right? So I think reject the diet mentality. Say, no go for you. I'm not doing these fad diets anymore. If something comes on the television and says, drop 10 pounds in a week, like, no, you're trying to get me again. No, you want my money again. No, your society judging me again, and you don't have a right to do that. So kind of rejecting that diet mentality. Honor your hunger. If you are hungry, listen to your body. What does it feel like for you to be hungry? Do you get a headache? Do you lose your concentration? Do you get irritable? Does your stomach growl? Do you get fidgety, kind of agitated? There are a lot of things that can represent hunger, and sometimes we're not in tune with them. So pay attention to your hunger, and when you are hungry, eat something. This comes back to trusting your body. Do you trust your body? A lot of people go, oh man, I haven't thought about that. But a lot of times we don't trust our body. So we trust society to make the rules for us. Well, surely this celebrity must know what my body needs better than I do. And if we get back to just trusting our body and listening to our body, it's actually pretty reliable. Make peace with food. Again, no good or bad food. It's okay to eat something. It's okay to leave it on a plate. That's another thing, right? A lot of us grew up with like, eat, do you not like it? Eat. There's people starving in other places. Eat, finish your plate. You need seconds. So it's okay to leave food. It's okay to eat it all. You got to make peace with it and make sure you're challenging the food police. So again, is it a person? Is it a voice in your head that's telling you? Is it the media that's saying this is a good food, this is a bad food? Challenge that. Nope. Cara, the dietitian, said that grain is good for me because it gives me energy. It has whole grains and vitamins and minerals. I'm going to eat it. Challenge the food police. Who said that this is a bad food and why? And see if you can combat it. Discover the satisfaction factor. What does it feel like to be satisfied? Do we know? A lot of times we overeat. So that kind of ties into that feeling of fullness. Are you feeling overly stuffed? Are you eating too fast and then going, oh my gosh, I ate too much? Are you letting yourself get too hungry before you eat? Is there a way? I know last night we went out for like a Mexican cuisine and they had the chips and salsa thing, right? So I had some. I actually put some on my napkin because they didn't have plates, little plates. And then after a while, I honestly moved the chips to the other side of the table because I knew that I was satisfied. I wasn't hungry for any more chips, but they were right there. So it was like a mindless thing. Chewing, cut your food, chew it. How many times are you chewing? Are you just chewing like 1, 2, 3, swallow? Your food is not well chewed. Chew, 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 swallow. Take some time. Set your fork down. Are you still hungry? Are you satisfied? On a ruler of like 0 to 10, 0 starving Marvin, 10 you just ate Thanksgiving meal, you're stuffed. You want to hang out between like a 3 and a 6, a 3 and a 7. When you start to get hungry, eat something. When you start to get full weight, check in with yourself. Do you want more? You're allowed to stop. You're allowed to eat more. So what does that look like for you? Cope with the emotions. We all have this. Oh my gosh, I did so good today. I deserve this ice cream at the end of the day. Or, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed. I can't believe that day. I should have some alcohol. Maybe it's something like I'm going out with friends and I know we're going to have the dessert and I never eat dessert, so I'm going to eat 2 of them. Rather than stopping and seeing, do you even like how it tastes? Are you feeling hungry? Are you feeling full? Are you feeling satisfied? What are you feeling so that you get away from the emotion of it? Sometimes we just need to be numb, and that's really hard. So that can turn into like respect your body, move your body, deal with the stress. But are there other outlets that you have that you can de-stress? Maybe it's journaling, maybe it is that yoga, so that you're not turning to food always for the emotions. Respect your body. So find clothes that fit. Don't quit waiting to squeeze into the others. Feel comfortable. Make yourself look good. Take care of yourself. Do your hair, take a shower and dress up. Whatever you want to do to help respect your body, but don't try to squeeze it into something that it's not, but also respect it. If it's one of those days where you're just having a tired day, take a nap. Try to be in tune with your body. Move. We've talked about this one a few times. I don't think we need to belabor that one, but think of ways that you can move your body and then honor your health. So this is that gentle nutrition kind of thing. If you have a family history of diabetes, yeah, we do need to talk about how you can move, how you can eat rounded meals without feeling deprived while still honoring your hunger cues. It is possible to have no foods off limits and still not overeat and still move your body to decrease your risk of heart disease or to decrease your risk of diabetes. There are ways that you can add more fruits and vegetables. I'm always an add fan rather than an eliminate fan. Instead of saying I'm going to cut back on carbs, say I'm going to add more vegetables. I'm going to add more water. I know I need to drink half my weight in water. I'm going to try to drink half my weight in water. So if 200 pounds, you got 100 ounces of water. It's a lot of water. So 90 to 100 ounces maybe. So kind of pay attention to that. These can all be excellent goals as you're looking at the new year. Fill your buckets instead of saying how many little things, how much grapes should I eat? Remember your funnel thing, So if you fill your funnel up with foods that don't turn to mush, then you'll feel your hunger cues more. If you're eating things like pretzels, cereal, chips, those are fine to have, but they're going to kind of be mushy. So you're going to have to watch those portion sizes a little bit because you won't have as reliable hunger cues. So are you filling your bucket? Do you have a carb? Do you have some color? Do you have some protein? Have you got your fat, the healthy fat on your plate? Do you have some water? Make sure that you're drinking a lot. How are you feeling? Are you hungry? Are you full? All of these things are really important. Balance, of course, is key. We're not going to look at one versus the other. So as an example, at a sandwich shop, you might have a turkey sandwich with, that's some of your carb and your protein and your color. So you can add in some extra color with a fruit cup. You could add a side salad that would add additional color. But don't forget your water. Don't forget to stay really well hydrated. Again, if you're drinking your calories, it slips right through your funnel. So that's not to say that you can't ever have something like sugar, like sweet tea or soda, but keep in mind, you're not feeling that nutrition. So it might taste good, but that's something that you'll have to watch the portion size of, because you could very easily drink 32 ounces of a sugar sweetened beverage and not feel it, not know that you did that. So that's kind of that like gentle nutrition again, but going back to the health benefits. Here's a breakfast idea. I think I've shared this one with you before. Pack something the night before, microwave or no cook options. You can have the overnight oats that have some color on them. That's a whole grain with some fruit. You could have make it with milk or soy milk, and that adds your protein. You could do a breakfast shake with some color like your fruit. You could have a breakfast sandwich with some fruit. Of course, you could have vegetables for breakfast. It's often easier to have some fruit. So whatever you prefer. So let's just take 1 minute and just write down 2 goals. I know I put 1, but I think if you can do 1 goal for 2 weeks and then add another goal. That gets us through the whole month of January after the new year starts. So remember, goals should be specific. They should be measurable, attainable, not something unrealistic, relevant, something you're willing to do, something that means something to you, and time bound. So again, maybe it's I'm going to pay attention to my hunger cues for 2 weeks and eat when I feel hungry by having snacks in my desk drawer. Maybe it's I'm going to drink half my weight in water for 2 weeks by having 1 water bottle before lunch and 1 water bottle after lunch. Maybe it's I'm going to move for 20 minutes 4 times a week by doing yoga before bed and by going for a walk with my coworker on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So think of something that you can do for the new year. I'll give you just a minute. Okay, I hope you've got it written down. That's one great goal. And then what I want you to do is kind of mull over some of the other stuff we talked about today and see if there's one more goal you can come up with before you go back to your regular work today. I think it would be great to have 2 goals. If you can set a 2-week time limit on it, it's not unrealistic that you could do something for 2 weeks, and then hopefully you can add to it as opposed to switching from one to the other. And then, like I said, I'm going to go a little bit more in depth into the intuitive eating, those kind of 10 goals that we talked about for the February talk. Please let me know if you have anything you want me to talk about, and also if you'd prefer these live sessions or if you would prefer just listening to the recordings. Either is fine with me. I want to do what works for you. I wanted to give you these resources. If you want to take a screenshot, go ahead. If you want a copy of my PowerPoint slides, my email address is right at the bottom there. I'm happy to email you these slides so that you have it as a reference. These books are wonderful. I mentioned The Anti-Diet by Christy Harrison. Intuitive Eating by Evelyn Tribole is great. It's also a great audiobook. So if you're going to be driving for the holidays or something, get some of these on audio. It's great. Food Psych Podcast is by Christy Harrison. Body Kindness is also wonderful. Real Pod is a college age student, so maybe not the best. I mean, she's a young lady, so it might be appropriate. It might not be. She's a former athlete. And then these are great dietitians and nutrition people to follow on Instagram if you're on social media to try to get some of the anti-diet, more body positive, intuitive eating kind of concepts in your mind. So I thank you for joining me. Again, the next session is going to be on February 2nd at noon, unless I hear otherwise from all of you. But I'll plan to do that. If nothing else, I'll for sure have the recording done by then so you all can listen at your own convenience. Please reach out anytime if you have any questions. My email address is there. If I switch back just one, my phone number is also at the bottom. That's my work cell, so you are never bothering me. Feel free to call, feel free to text. If I don't answer, leave a message. I promise I'll get back to you. I love hearing from all of you, and I just want to get you the information to help you make good decisions and to help you along your nutrition journey. So please reach out, as I mentioned, and I just wanted to say thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful Christmas holiday season and also a wonderful new year. We'll see you next time.